Hi there and welcome back to Dawson Scouser's Garage. This is the third and final part of the Spitfire feature. We just got back and we're wrapping up the car for the winter. It's been a real privilege to drive. These classic British convertible sports cars are the kind of genesis of the car that I drive, the Honda S2000. This is where it all started. So it's a real privilege to be able to drive a car that's been so well looked after. It's been in the family for so long. And it's been, as I say, it's been looked after so well. We got the big folder of history that I mentioned in the previous videos, 5 folders of history. So we're going to go back and we're going to have a little look through that and just see the major maintenance that's been done with the car, some of the modifications, very slight modifications, just to keep it running really nicely over the last 50 years or so. So we'll carry on wrapping her up and we shall pop in and have a look at some of the history. So Steve, the current owner, is going to be coming back regularly and just firing her up and rolling her back and forth and just making sure the brakes don't seize up and the tyres don't get flat spots and that sort of thing. But she'll be all ready for the spring. So the car was built and registered in 1972. And Fred, the previous owner, bought it in 1974, so it was only less than 2 years old at the time. We got the notification of a new V5C certificate, so the old ones had to be destroyed. This is dated October 1995, I believe. No, 1996, so the 7th of February 96, so any previous registration documents before this had to be destroyed. And this replaced it all. So that was the first V5 in there. But also we've got the owner's handbook. So this is the original handbook that came with the car. You've got an indication of your controls and your instruments for left and right hand drive. So the car we drove was right hand drive for UK market. Controls and indicators, handbrake, gearbox, gear shifter. How the old seat belts work, I believe they've been replaced with better units since then. Locks and keys. Just zip through this. The soft top and how to open that. An optional hard top. Heating and ventilation system. Your cooling system. Driving from new, so the optional overdrive, the tyre pressures, the electrical system, so I mentioned the wiring diagram we had before, and another one for the left hand side, so right hand side and left hand side. Fuses, electrical system, routine servicing, so your periodic checks, weekly checks, monthly checks. You've got your first free service, 6,000 mile service and 12,000 mile service. So that's all documented there. Changing of spark plugs, looking at the front hubs, handbrake cable guides, looking at the body, brakes, carburetors, care of bodywork, recommended lubricants and antifreeze solutions. And yeah, just a maintenance schedule, ticking off what you should be checking weekly, monthly, every 6,000 miles and every 12,000 miles. And the general specification. So, the car has a 1296cc inline 4 cylinders. It weighs, I think that's on the next page, yes. So, its dry weight is 734, its curb weight 822, so really not that much. And you've got your capacities, your fuel tank takes 37 litres or 8 1/4 gallons. The engine, the engine oil with the sump and the filter is 4.5 litres or 8 pints. So yeah, everything documented in there, and that's a lovely thing to have for an old car, is having the original handbook. Yeah, that's the V5. That's the first registration document, and it had no former keepers before. It had one former keeper before Fred bought it, We've got a service chart. So alongside here, yeah, you can see that. So we've got 31,000 miles, 34, 37, 38. Some work was done in between, and 73,000 miles. So this is just checking engine oil, the gearbox oil, the rear axle oil, distributor, steering swivels, driver's controls, servicing the air cleaner, tune the carburetors, adjust the fan belt, adjust the spark plugs, and adjust the valve clearances. And I assume there's probably something underneath there as well, so let's just have a little look. Yeah, so there's a bit more in there. Let's take that out. Yes. A 40-point check. Road test the car, antifreeze, clean the carburetors, check the seat belts. This is all a 40-point Castrol service chart. Number 57. So next thing we'll come on to is the Kenlow fan that again Fred fitted, 1987. So this folder at the start of it just kind of documents the most important and the most noteworthy work that was done with the car. Towards the middle of the 80s, Fred was noticing that it was starting to overheat. The radiator needed replacing, but the coolant was starting to get gunked up with stuff, and the engine was no longer able to cool itself effectively. So he purchased and installed a Kenlow fan with a thermo sensor, heat sensor, so it would only kick in when it needed to. It was a lot better than the unit that was fitted to the radiator originally, which just ran off the fan belt. So it just ran constantly, and probably when idling it didn't provide enough cooling to the car. But inside here is all the fitting instructions for that, and it was fitted, purchased at a cost of £61.75 in 1987, fitted, and it's been running, or cooling the car very well ever since. The original invoice for the car in 1974. Fred paid £545 for it and got £250 in part exchange for a Morris Mini 1000. And there was an RAC engineer's examination report, checking things like the radiator, the clutch, transmission. The engine, interestingly, was it was misfiring under load, and it had a lumpy tick over. So it was recommended that the engine was tuned and the power was reduced. But that was something that needed to be looked at. This was only a 2-year-old car, so already things to be done. This is what we would know now in the UK as an MOT test certificate, but it was for the Department for the Environment. So each year a car has to be tested in order to tell whether it was roadworthy or not. If it wasn't roadworthy, then you have to fix things before it can go back on the road. And this is something that needs to be passed every year. But after 40 years, a classic car is no longer eligible to take the test. It's obviously advised that work is done to make sure that it is roadworthy, and it would actually pass the test if you put through it. And if the police pull you over and they find that your car is not roadworthy, they can fine you, I think up to £1,000, I'm not sure. But it's worth having an MOT test, even if your car is exempt from the test itself. Another one of those, and the old tax disc as well. This is all done online nowadays, but 12 months tax, £25. Those are the days. But yeah, an invoice, £84.29, and that's for clutch master cylinder, which had obviously started to go, and it includes the slave cylinder, the master cylinder, the clutch. God, the writing on this is terrible. A Bosch pin, talking 13p, 12p, everything is in these folders. Absolutely everything is documented and saved into these folders. Another tax disc. This time it didn't pass, so the hand and the foot brakes were below the statutory requirements. So again, some work was done to address that issue. We have offside rear drive shaft, near side rear U-joint, whatever a U-joint is, brake shoes. So again, some more little bits and bobs there, £87. And it ran out the 70s with no further issues. So, 1980, another MOT pass. Some more invoices for some pipes, some screws and some washers. So 7p. £2.20, the grand total of £2.20 in there. So 1981, another pass certificate. And now this is where the this is the Department of Transport. So they have a kind of a tick list of everything in here. So everything passed. There's a 45-point check. Well, 45 lines. I'm not sure it's 45 points, but yeah, there's a little bit more detail in it. I think the MOT test now is much more thorough and detailed, but cars have become more complicated in recent years. This is an interesting conversation that Fred had with a car showroom. I'm not sure if they're still going, but there was the car was resprayed, whether it was all of it or part of it, but Fred wasn't happy with the finish. So yes, paint has been sprayed over body dirt. The bootlit edge has large paint lobs stuck to it. Most painted areas have hair and dust dried to the paint, so it's obviously not been done in a particularly controlled environment. So he obviously wasn't happy with that, and that was fixed for him. 1983, another pass. Now, this is another interesting bit of detail. So the engine was swapped, and we've got the old parts and accessories, British Leyland UK Limited. So these were tags that were attached to those spare parts. Component short engine, and we've got a detail number in there. And let's just bring these out. It's quite an important bit of maintenance. Small invoices here. Fitted, and I can't read that terrible handwriting. An alternator, £40 for remove and refit Spitfire Mark IV drive shaft. Clock and adjust tappets, check and adjust tappets, sorry. Brake system, so delivery of a engine, 1972 Triumph Spitfire, and 2 engine mounts. To remove, strip apart and fit customer's engine, replace parts as necessary. So it was actually an engine rebuild rather than a swap. So that's what those tags got me confused, but there were probably some parts that were from the Leyland factory that were supplied in the process of rebuilding the engine. Wow, total cost of that, £563. So Fred paid £525 for the car, and in 1983, I think we are, it was rebuilt, and all of the work that was done relating to that. So probably in total in that year there was probably about £800 or £900 worth of work. So Fred was doing a lot of miles on this. So if we flip back to say here, we've got 84,000 miles in 1982, 1981 we've gone down to 80,000, so that's 4,000 miles in a year. There were times when Fred was doing 10,000 miles in a year. So it was well used. He was using it as his daily commuter vehicle for a while. Fitting SU carbs and tuning them, £120. So 2 SU HS2 carbs, £80, £40 each. Yeah, just flicking through this, I mean, you can see 1987. Another MOT pass, slightly different MOT report. Now this is now called the MOT inspection report from the Department of Transport. So that's the logo they now use, and it's more of a similar test to what we are used to now. So this is a double-sided. No, it isn't. Sorry, it's still single-sided, but it's more detailed in terms of what was tested. I have a switch and a light switch. 1987. Sorry, 1988. So an MOT refusal. So, offside lower trunnion and bushes worn to excess. Advise attention on the near side front brake hose. And another advisory, the exhaust mounting. So, all of that stuff addressed to the tune of £163, and it passed its test then. And another one in 89. 1989, incidentally, is the year that I was born, so this car had already seen a huge amount of history before I'd even been born, which is quite interesting, I think. 1990 to 99. So again, more MOT passes, advisory that the wheel bearings had started to go. So again, you can check it all back here, but there's bearings, metal brushes, pipes, yeah, just £170 worth of maintenance there as well. Little tax disc for 1991. 92, another MOT pass. 92, another MOT pass. 93, sorry, 94. Got some nice photos in here, so see the old days of film photographs where you put your film in a canister and you sent it off for it to be developed and printed. So we've got some nice photos of the engine bay. Obviously the car had been just cleaned here. So these were photos from the 90s, so still in remarkably good condition. Let's pop them back, keep them safe. All maintenance done, £233. 94. Another tax certificate. Carburetor gaskets. Wash wipe switch. Pumps, fuel kit. Postage, £69. These old cars do cost quite a bit to maintain, but if you're getting use from them, as Fred was, he was driving it quite a lot. There's a big lot of invoices here, so let's just take them out. So yeah, the 90s looks like it was a point where a lot of work was done. EXH Man 1300 Recon. Mounting engine parts. Gaskets, downpipe gaskets. Coolant, brake fluid, air filters, a replacement hood, so a soft top, £110 plus VAT, sorry, 98.30 plus VAT, £110, brake pads, accelerator cable, here we go. Remove existing engine, break down ancillaries and clean as required. Fit Rimmer Brothers bench tested unleaded 1300cc engine. A 1300cc unit. Build up ancillaries including fitting and clutch kit. Replace the interior gearbox cover. Trim and carpet. So yeah, quite a lot of work there. All brake pads. Yeah, just huge amount of work in 1997. 97 and 98, again, MOT pass. Carbs tuned, 1998, 99. I assume the car is pretty much sorted at the moment, at this time. So just small things like buffer bonnet locator, gaskets, plates, yeah. And that's that for the 90s. 2000 to 2009. Quickly flick through these. So again, another MOT pass, 2001 MOT pass, condensers, coil ballast, 2003, relay light dimming, shipping charge, hose manifold where the new radiator was fitted, so a full width radiator, to the cost of £100. A slightly different MOT test certificate, so this again is much more familiar to drivers of modern cars, well, drivers who have driven in more recent years. Carried out MOT test. Customer complained of poor running and loss of power. They did some general tuning, refitted spark plugs, cleaned and adjusted them. Another MOT certificate, another MOT certificate. More MOT passes, seatbelt kit, and I assume the fitting instructions for that as well. Spitfire estimate. Let's just have a look at this, because I know at some point the car was resprayed. Well, that's quite a bit of work there, so as stated, all estimate work is guaranteed for 12 months, blah blah blah, £4,000. Let's see what that's about. Yes, this is the point where the respray was done. So, an estimate of all the work, removing all of the panels and the trim and the lights and the badges, removing the windscreen, going through everything, taking off all the old paint, making good any dents, rust, cracks, etc., including stress cracks of the bonnet, and reinforcing as necessary. Prepare, respray, respray with anti-corrosion, prime the car, flat it, spray the textured stone chip to both sills, respray, flat, polish, wax oil, refit everything. The restoration will be photographed and a disc containing the pictures will be provided to you. Lovely. So a deposit was paid, estimate of around about 4,000 with a deposit of 1,500. Notification of that. A Spitfire, what do you think? Not cheap, but a proper job. Photographic record. Excellent. Sadly, I don't seem to have the photographs, but... And then just a little bit extra Super Troll. Penetrating rust-proofing fluid. A couple of other bits and bobs in there, but that was the main chunk of work in that year, was to respray the car. Now, Fred did mention that the respray was a very slight, different, a few shades lighter than the original colour, which he said was a bit of a shame, but it's not really something that's particularly noticeable. And the car still looks great to this day. So it's kept in a garage and it's kept under wraps, not driven really that much in the winter, if at all. And so the exterior looks excellent, as it always does. Onwards. I probably shouldn't be showing you much of this, but this is a transfer of ownership. The car has to stay within the family, so it can't be sold off. It's a family heirloom. And we've got the new V5, which is registered to Stephen, who is the current owner. Another MOT test, 2010, a tax disc. Another tax disc, 2011. 2012. So we've got... this was still in Fred's ownership. The car was transferred over in 2016, so 3.5 years ago. So this is still some work being done by Fred. We've got a replace rear screens, fit foam for seat, supplied by you, so £45. Rotor arm and distributor cap, door trim panels, gasket door handle, washers. Always had trouble with the doors on the Spitfire. Not very good parts in there, so they're always breaking. Another MOT test, and now we're taking it to some classic car meets. So this was the Goodwood Revival. Allen key for removal of heater knobs to allow access to rear of dashboard. We did say that on the test drive, that somewhere there was an Allen key, so hopefully it might have been taken out. Yes. No, it hasn't. There we go. Excellent. I'll know where to find that if they're stuck for opening up a dashboard and trying to get into the back. I'll know that the Allen key is in there, which is ideal. Pop that back in there, nice and safe. Another classic car show, wings and wheels. Another MOT test. And yeah, it's gone round the clock, so it's up to 2014, it's up to 16,403, so 116,403 miles. Clip hood finisher, a little bit of work there. Another MOT pass, motor insurance, and just some other bits and bobs in there. Another motor insurance certificate, MOT test, 2016. The V5, the slips that were retained by the previous owner, but obviously have been put in here. So, just a little look in here. Vehicle tax, hooray! 12 months vehicle tax. So, not only do you not have to pay, not have to have the car MOT tested, you don't have to pay vehicle tax on the car, which is ideal, really. Classic cars are exempt from road tax. So we have a bit of an overhaul on the engine, some tuning that was done to it, so carrying out a service, replacing the rocker cover gaskets and adjust tappets, replace the badly corroded front flasher lamp and rewire, solder a new earth, lower suspension arm bolts, dismantle the driver's door and replace the door handle, still having trouble with that, strip the offside rear hub and drive shaft, replace the brake, remove both brake cylinders and clear the brake back plate. Lubricate and fit new U-clips and rubber boots, bleed the brakes. Replace the radiator top hose, bleed the coolant system. Replace the fuel hose. I'll take this out because this is quite a bit of work. So an engine flush, refill the antifreeze, just some fluids in there, spark plugs, yeah, oil filler cap, breather, hose, rocker cover gasket, door handle, £80 for a door handle, wow. Bulbs, £886, wow. So quite a bit of work done there. I know there was an MOT pass, but there was some advisory information that the brake hose was slightly chafed, the exhaust is a minor leak, and there was a gearbox and rear diff oil leaks as well. So they were attended to. So now with the new owner Steve, he was taking it to classic car shows as well. We regularly go to the Sherborne Castle Classics. And again, vehicle tax. I think you still have to register for the vehicle tax, so you don't have to pay it. And 2018, so again, more classic car shows. So this was when I first kind of saw the Spitfire, was during these classic car shows. So Sherborne Classics, it was at the, what's the name of the other one? It's been to various classic car shows last year and this year as well. So yeah, classics at the mill, that was what I was looking for, but that was actually this year, 2019. More vehicle tax not paid for, because you don't need to. Classics and supercars at Sherborne Castle. And that's us up to date. So this folder will probably go into the 2020s, but the car, as I say, you can just tell, and I've probably gone into way more detail than I needed to, but so as you can see from all of the folders that we've got here and all the kind of the magazines and the workshop manuals and that sort of thing, that Fred and Steve, the current owner, really enjoyed owning this classic British sports car, and it shows. It's a joy to drive, and it makes you feel special. It's a really good little sports car, and I've had certainly a lot of fun driving it and finding out more about the history of the vehicle over the 40, nearly 50 years that it's been on the road. So thank you so much for watching this series on the Triumph Spitfire. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please consider subscribing to the channel. It means a lot. Consider liking the video and giving a comment below. Maybe if you've got a car that you want to be featured on the channel as well, I'll be very welcome to your suggestions. But yeah, I will see you in a video coming really soon.